I specifically remember our vacations to Michigan, and I remembered our dad's budget was $500 for the week.
Yeah, it was.
That was our budget.
That was it.
Hard to comprehend that to where things are today. It's hard to go you can't go on a vacation for $500 today, can you?
No, you cannot.
So I'm with my mom, Mary
Hi.
Jo Neidlinger. How are you doing, Mom?
I'm doing very well.
I
thanks.
appreciate you coming in and having
Well,
a chat.
I gave this some thought before I came in here and wondered what was going to come about.
Well, I appreciate it. So I wanted people to meet you and learn a little bit about you, okay?
Okay.
So,
I have a lot of wisdom to impart to people.
yes. So our mom has been a wonderful mom, by the way, and I always tell people that I've never seen my mom in a bad mood. Very, very rarely have I seen you in a bad mood. Is that true?
That is very true. I saw a lady when I was just married. I was in the hospital, had back surgery, and the lady next to me had 8 children, and she was dying of cancer. And they didn't tell her. And I decided from that day on that I was never going to be sad another day of my life.
Really?
Yep.
Well, I can say that anytime there's been bad news going on, you've been the positive one within our whole family, every time.
Well, there's always a way to make a positive spin on everything.
Another thing that you're good at is anytime there is a disagreement or a fight going on with anybody in our family or there's a problem, you're always there to be the solver and the fixer. Do you feel like that?
I do feel like that, and I think that probably was not always good, but I couldn't always help me. I always wanted to find a way to make things okay, which sometimes I probably made it worse.
But if my dad and I were fighting, you would come to me, and if Justin and I were fighting, you were always coming to me. I knew if I got in an argument or a fight with Justin, you would be on my doorstep within about an hour.
Well, a mother is always going to protect their kids, and if somebody was after you, I would have been the same way.
I don't know if it's happened as much lately.
No, it's been good, and I think you've all learned to manage well with each other, and it's very positive.
Well, that's good.
And I congratulate you for
Yeah.
that, because that was not easy. The hardest business to have is a family business, because you have brother, you have family, and you have business, and it's important that the 3 blend and not become a flare-up and dissolve everything.
Yeah. Well, I would like to. So one other thing about you that I think people ought to know is anytime you come up with something, I don't know if it's an air fryer or a vacuum or a steamer, but once you get something that you like, you just feel like everybody has to have one. Is that true?
And I think you don't fall far from the tree on that aspect, because that is true. Then I'll go buy everybody the same thing that I have, because I think they should have it. Right or wrong, I don't know.
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask you some other questions here that
Okay.
that I think people ought to know. So where did you grow up at?
I grew up in Traverse City, Michigan. I had a great childhood. My parents always made it possible for us to be educated, active, eat healthy, and have fun. Well, we didn't have a lot of money, but we had enough to do what we wanted to do. My father built a ski hill right there on the farm where we lived, and made a rope tow so that we could ski right there on the farm. Eventually, we went to the ski hills, and it was always a lot of fun.
Okay. Where did you go to high school?
All right. I need to back up a little bit. We lived in town first.
Okay.
And there were 4 kids in the family, and they were sending us to camp to do things. My father said, there's got to be a better way than just sending the kids to camp. Thus, we moved out to a farm where we had an incredible life with horses, skiing, My mother was a music major. She had me play the cello. I sold the cello, took trick riding lessons from my neighbor, used the money from the cello to buy a trick riding saddle.
Oh, wow.
So I thought I would join the circus and leave home and take the family car and the horse trailer, but they said no.
Okay.
After that, my dad took my sister and I down to Grand Rapids, 3 hours from home, for riding lessons on the horses. And he felt that if we were going to do well, we needed to learn to ride correctly. Before that, he would stand in the ring with the books of the masters and tell me, this is the way you ride. So education to make you successful was always a priority in my growing up. So I made it a priority for all of my 3 sons growing up.
So what was the name of the high school you went to?
Traverse City High School.
Okay, and you graduated there, right?
I graduated from there.
Did you
yes.
play any sports in high school?
I was on the ski team in high school 4 years. I was on the varsity ski team in 9th grade and 9, 10, 11, and 12. It was practice every night after school, and my brother also did this.
Were you competitive?
I was competitive, yes.
Did you win?
I won quite a bit, yes. But there was always one girl that would always beat me, and that was my challenge.
Okay. Where did you go to college?
I went to Northwestern Michigan University, a junior college there at home. I went there 1 year, and then my parents wanted me to go 2 years there because it would be cheaper.
Yeah.
But I transferred after 1 year to Michigan State, where I earned a physical education degree.
Oh, cool. Did you meet anyone famous in college in any of your classes?
Yes. There was a summer term I was taking anatomy, and Gene Washington, that played for the Redskins,
Okay.
sat behind me, and I remember he was huge, and
Was it Bubba Smith or no?
he was there then.
Oh, he was
too.
there then also.
Yeah, but
okay.
Gene Washington was in my
Okay.
anatomy class.
And his legs came up past your desk.
Oh,
is
past
that-
my desk, yes.
Let's see. How many kids do you have?
I have 3 sons.
3 sons. Okay. Who's your favorite child?
I don't have a favorite.
Okay.
I am outspoken, and I would defend any one of them to the end. I have only one regret, and that's that your father isn't here to see
Yeah.
this.
Okay. Do you give any special treatment to any of your kids?
No, I do not. Somehow I knew you were going to ask me that. You always wanted to be the top. I'd take Mike, you would go to kindergarten half a day and then come home on the bus. But the rest of that afternoon, you wanted to know exactly what Mike and I did all the time you were gone,
Okay.
because you didn't want to miss anything.
Okay. So that brings me to my next question. So how was I as a child when I was real young? Maybe let's go 3, 4, or 5, because I can compare that to my girls that are in that age now.
You were very energetic. You were always creative. I can remember you standing on the table with a banjo, and I think you were going to be a singer. It was a kid's guitar, and you were just strumming along. Even in church, you stood up and you would just sing out
Really?
whatever you wanted to say. I love my pony loves me. I mean, everybody in the church heard it.
So I remember one thing when we were younger, something about glass Christmas balls. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Oh, yes. I had gone out to feed the horses, put you and Mike down for a nap. I don't think I had Justin yet. You were like 2 and 3 years old. I came in, you were standing in the room with the Christmas tree, and I had 2 boxes of glass balls in their case, and you had taken every one but one and thrown it against the wall. The entire room was filled with red, gold, green Christmas balls. I was just livid. I sat them in chairs and made them watch me clean it all up. And you were just silent for once. I think that's Christmas.
So was it difficult having 3 boys?
It was a joy. It was a joy. I remember I put out a table for you to make your own peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Yeah.
I thought, oh, I don't have to make it for them. You know, they can make it themselves. Every little step of your child growing up, even opening the door to get in the car. I have another story to tell.
Okay.
You went to the Catholic school.
Yeah.
I sent you out to the bus. You're in your uniforms, all 3 of you. I hear this bam. You ran in the house with a dead squirrel that you had shot while you were waiting for the bus and said, I just got dinner for tonight. Well, how much I love my kids. They were all excited. They wanted that squirrel for dinner. There was hardly a thimble full of meat on it, but I cooked it and I served it that night.
Well, that leads me into one of my next questions.
Okay.
Did you cook a lot for us when we were younger? Are you a good cook? Rate your cooking ability for me.
My cooking was healthy. I am a big promoter of eating healthy because that affects your whole life.
Yeah.
I didn't have time to figure out how to make all these fancy recipes and things. Meat and potatoes. We got a grill. That was the best thing that ever happened to me. I was cooking hamburgers every night, I think. But
Did you burn anything that you cooked, Mom?
I burned a lot of things. I even burned up a pot and had it sitting on the porch.
I think Dad once said if it wasn't burnt, it wasn't quite normal.
You know, I was very fortunate. He liked things well done.
Yeah, most things were burnt.
Yes, and
I remember tater tot. Hamburgers and tater tots were your specialty,
yes.
right?
Oh, I thought they were delicious.
Did you ever make chicken, Mom, for us?
No, I don't think I ever did it on the
It was
grill.
like hamburger and hot dogs, right?
Yeah, hamburgers and hot dogs.
We never got fish or any of that stuff, did we?
No, I never did. But I couldn't see making a meal if not everyone liked it, because then.
How long did it
everybody
take you to
hungry.
make most of your meals, Mom?
Maybe 10 minutes. I didn't plan ahead. If you were going to the neighbors to eat, I thought it was just fine.
Yeah. We didn't do a lot of planning, did we, for what we were doing for eating or doing stuff as a family? Everything was kind of spur of the moment, right?
Absolutely spur of the moment. In fact, everything was so spur of the moment. On your 10th birthday, I forgot it. And your grandmother called, Larry's mom, and sang happy birthday to you on the phone. And you turned around and said, Mom, it's my birthday. So Larry was out of town, and we had pizza that night.
Yeah. I remember doing that. I also remember some of our summers we would go to Michigan, right? That was our big thing back then. And we would go for 3 to maybe a week at a time. And I remember us buying a jet ski. Dad would buy a jet ski, we would use it for the summer, and then we would sell it when the summer was over. And that was a big thing back then.
Yes, we went to Michigan 21 times for the family reunion, and Larry's dad would always have something special there for us to do then. And there was a lake near his farm, and we, of course, didn't have a lot of money, and the boys really wanted a jet ski. So Larry figured out how we could get it with the money the boys had earned, and then we would sell it in 2 weeks. So that's what we did. Unfortunately, Justin was only 11 at the time. He got a ticket on the lake because he wasn't legal to be out there. So I think that cost us $30. But
That was a good
We had
time.
a lot of fun, and Larry told the boys, if we don't sell the jet ski, you can use it on the mud puddles in the driveway.
Yeah, we never went to the beach. We never did anything except we went to Michigan once a year.
That was all we did.
That's all
that was
we
all
did.
we could
Yeah.
afford.
So fast forward a little bit. So I got into wrestling, right? And one thing I always remember is through high school and college, I think you and Dad only missed 2 matches, and they were
Yes.
both in California. And my aunt and uncle, they ended up coming to that match. But you guys never missed one match in high school or college.
We went to everybody's matches, and if we couldn't make one for one of the boys, they were all going at the same time. The other, we would have it videoed so that we could all watch it later, and we tried to have a balance between all 3 boys.
Yeah.
There were no favorites. Everybody was special, and they still are.
But that was always nice to me when you guys would come to every single match, whether it was high school or college.
It was fun, and to make the best of it, I have to always be active, and I wanted to keep your dad active, so we bought rollerblades. So we would go to these matches, and in between, there's a lot of downtime. We would rollerblade the area around the
Wow.
place, and then come back and watch another match. So we really had like a mini vacation out of what we did.
And of course, you bought rollerblades for everybody, right?
Of course. You came home from college. Everybody had rollerblades. It was Easter weekend, and we all went rollerblading through Carlisle, through Dickinson, and had a wonderful time.
I specifically remember our vacations to Michigan, and I remember our dad's budget was $500 for the week.
Yeah, it was.
That was our budget.
That was it.
Hard to comprehend that to where things are today. It's hard to you can't go on a vacation for $500 today, can you?
No, you cannot. And he would never say no to anything.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody wanted anything, he would never say, just a minute. He did it right then.
So we learned a lot of things. So Dad was worked for somewhere, and he had a side business at home. We were building some houses and he did some
Yeah.
developments, and
Yeah.
we learned a lot. We learned a little bit about business from our dad.
Yes.
I've learned some things that I always tell people that the 2 major things I learned from my dad was how to start projects, because he was really good at starting projects.
Yes.
The other thing I'm really good at is finishing projects, because he didn't finish anything that he started, correct?
He either ran out of money or ran out of time. That's exactly right.
So that's been a big help. So my pet peeve is not finishing a project or not funding it correctly. And so because he didn't fund projects correctly, I started funding every project correctly.
And now I think the benefit of your situation now is that you have a complete family around you now. He was by himself.
Yeah.
He only had me.
Yeah.
So he was trying to balance the budget. He had such aspirations for the family, and he wanted every boy to have their own business by the time he left. But it didn't quite happen that way.
Yeah.
But I think you all have done a remarkable job managing a family business.
I remember when Dad would get a car, he would talk about, do we have enough to pay the payment?
Yes, and that is not a good way to go.
Yes.
But-
Now when we buy a car is, do we have enough money to pay the car off
Right.
when we buy it?
But he wanted his kids to be able to drive a Porsche or a Corvette while they were still young enough to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And not be old and gray when you finally drove it. So I think that meant a lot to all you kids.
Yes.
Whether we could afford it or not.
Although I was the one with the Porsche and the Corvette back then.
Well, they all took it to the prom, and
yeah.
everybody did. And he would clean it and wax it for every person to take it to the prom.
So let me back up here a little bit. And
Okay.
so you were a gym teacher.
Yes.
And I remember when I was in high school, for some reason, you were a substitute teacher at my school.
Yes.
And I can tell you that's some of our fondest memories, because I swear you would let my friends get away with murder in these classes, Mom. You came in as a gym teacher, and it was like my friends would literally abuse everybody in the class because they knew you would be like, "Oh, you're fine, just get away with it." What was your take on that? Why did you let everyone do whatever they wanted to do, so to speak?
Well, I don't think I was totally aware, and I wouldn't let it go too far. But I also know that a teacher told me that the kids had been really good for me.
Yeah.
And she wondered why. Well, she found out that you were going to take care of anybody that gave me a hard time. So I guess I was okay.
Well, I think you let them get away with too much, Mom.
Well, you're probably true.
It was a
Yeah.
lot of work trying to keep them from being out of control. So it was a
Yeah.
lot of work. So let's fast forward then. You know, we get out of college and we're doing our own business. And I think in 1990, I remember right when I got out of college, Dad and I were doing yards. Remember, we were doing some yards
Yes,
for Fred
yes.
Tidy, the builder, and like we didn't have any money to even pay the bills back
We
then.
had no money. In fact, we had gone out to Michigan, and Larry's dad gave you a small Datsun truck, and you wanted a nicer truck. So you weren't really all that nice to that truck, but you had to grow into learning to earn money.
Yeah.
And I don't think that was all bad.
Yeah.
Because I think when everything is good all the time and you have plenty of money, you need to learn a work ethic to earn it and
Yeah.
do it. And that is a gift that Larry gave all of you.
Well, it was a grind. I mean, I remember being my dad and I were doing yard work, like literally putting in grass yards
Yes.
for an income, and like literally, one day he had his head down, like he didn't know what the hell he was going to do, and we just had to keep fighting through it. And even when you fight through the hardest of things and then figure it out and then get a little bit better,
Yes.
then 2008 hit, and we couldn't. Then that was another setback. Like 2008 was the housing crisis when we were building houses and we couldn't sell any. Like we really didn't know what to do.
And that's the year he died.
Yes,
Yeah.
it might have started a year or two before that because
It
that's
did.
when we sold
It
it. We
did.
sold our mobile home park to our partners, and we took on some
Yeah.
different ventures. But we did all that having no money. We were still in we were in the negative again with money in 2008, going through that time.
It couldn't have been a worse time.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a low beyond lows, but you as a family met, worked it out, and set up a plan to pay off people you owed money to, and you either called them or gave them a small payment every
Yeah.
month, and in 5 years pulled us out of $1 million of the debt. I remember I was going to get my nails done, and you said to me, "Are you sure you should be doing this?" And I said yes, but anyway, we made it.
Well,
You all made it.
I do remember Dad had a life insurance policy, which
Yes.
was in place through his work. It was
Yes.
$500,000.
And before he died,
Yeah.
he put that in place because if anything should happen to him after he retired, and he retired early,
Yeah.
that everyone would be taken care of.
And I don't know how we would have made it without that money, because that
Right.
was tax-free
Right.
money.
Right.
And I know the first thing we did with that money was we did take about 50,000 or so, and we remodeled your house.
Yes, 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 and put a patio in, and
I think we said we need to do this now, or we may never do it.
that was true. And it's been
How long has it been since then? 13 years?
14 years.
14 years.
Yes, and
You might be due for another remodel here sometime, huh?
maybe a little bit of carpeting stuff, but nothing is imperative. And
But having that life insurance was a huge help. And so even after the life insurance and after the dust settled, we were still the $1 million in the hole back then.
yes, we were.
And it took 5 years. It took driving a Prius. It took, being on a budget, which we're still on this budget today. Did you know that?
But that's why things are going well, and it keeps things going. And what I admire is you all are passing this on down to your kids, because things have gotten more comfortable, but if it's too comfortable, your own kids won't have a work ethic. And that is the best thing you can give a child.
Yeah, I don't know if they will truly know what we had to go through in 1998, the first when I got out of college with our dad, and then again in 2008. There were 2 recessions.
We hardly had enough money to bring you home. I mean,
Wow.
there wasn't much. You wanted a mattress, and we did not have a good mattress for you. So you found one in the paper,
Yeah.
and I think we needed $300 so that you would have a bed. And Larry had a way of putting money away, and then we were leaving. I didn't know how we were going to pay for it. And he came downstairs and handed you $300.
Well, speaking of that, is when I was in college at Penn State, Dad always I had one of his ATM cards. He literally
Yes.
So I didn't have a budget. He gave me an ATM card. So anytime I needed food or needed to do something, I had his ATM card. Now I didn't overspend. I didn't feel like it, but there were times where I felt like I might have overspent a little bit, and I felt bad. Do you remember any of that?
Oh, I certainly do. And Rob, the first time you used it, you lost the card in the machine. So we had to send another one. Anyway, lo and behold, a few months after Larry gave him the ATM card, he sent it home in an envelope all cut up. And he had, because he said, I put an end to the deficit in your bank account by returning this card, which showed a conscientious observation of the value of money.
Yeah.
However, after you did that, I think you went through withdrawal because you couldn't find any money.
Well, so fast forward, we went through 2 recessions. In '98, I felt like it was a recession for our family,
Yes,
and then
yes.
2008
Yes.
was another major recession. It was not easy. We came together as a family. We got on a budget. We are still on that budget today.
Yes.
Now things have changed a little bit, and we still live way below our means. We have reserves in case there becomes an issue in the economy, and right now we might be going through a different economy where things are changing right now again. And I feel like everything that we've done in the past will make a huge difference in what's going on.
And I think what happened in the past makes you cognizant of what could happen right now, although
Yeah.
things are good. And that's a positive. And
I can only imagine that we will get through it better this time.
Yes.
That we have a big reserve versus last time we were $1 million in the hole.
that's right.
So it has to
That's
be
right.
better this time.
Now, I'm going to sidetrack from money and say that the health of everyone and taking care of yourself is as important as money, because you never just send your head to work. You have to take your whole body to work, and you have to be able to do things. And I'm thinking eating right, exercising, and having a vacation are 3 important ingredients to getting through very stressful times. And if those 3 components are there and you don't have your health, no matter how much money you make, it doesn't make any difference.
I would agree with you 100%. I recently lost 45 pounds. Did you know that?
I certainly do.
Do you remember a conversation we had about a few months ago? I was on the phone with my mom. I was telling her about this diet, Optavia, that I'm on. I'm eating 1 meal a day. And this was about 6 months ago. And I said to Mom, I said, okay, thanks. And then we get off the phone, but the phone was still on. And she's still talking in the background. She's like, he's on this diet. He's on another roller coaster. There's no way it's ever going to last. Do you remember saying that?
And that is the typical person who goes on a diet. But a diet has to become a way of life,
Yes.
or it doesn't last. And as competitive as you are, that was probably the best statement you could overhear, because you have stayed on it. And I congratulate you for it.
Well, I have you and my friend Travis, who tells me I'm a roller coaster also. So I have 2 people in both of my ears that drive me every day to not get back to that.
Right, right. I'm just proud of all of you, and know that Larry is too.
Well, thank you, Mom.